Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Texas Insider TV, brought to you by the Texas Alliance of Energy Producers. I'm Jim Cardle. Freshman State Senator Don Huffines from Senate District 16 ran last year on the issues of reducing the size and scope of government and family values. He's now been a legislator for his first session, is on the Business and Commerce, Transportation, and Education committees, and has a number of initiatives moving through the legislative pipeline. We're in our final couple weeks where budget, taxes, and illegal immigration are the hot button issues. We're pleased to visit with Senator Don Huffines today from Senate District 16. Well, Senator Huffines, thanks for coming back and for joining us as we move into the home stretch here. We appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate it, Jim. Thank you for having me.
You were in about a year ago in the not necessarily the heat of the battle, but just off a successful primary challenge. Congratulations again on that. And now we're in the middle of a legislative session. Let's just dive right into that. There's a couple things on tax reform and one of your immigration bills. But first of all, Senator, you ran on an agenda of changing government, of coming to Austin to change the water. You've been here 4 or 5 or 6 months now. Tell us what you're thinking. What are your first impressions? Has it been fun, frustrating? Is government in Texas to some extent working okay? What's your initial thoughts?
Well, I can tell you, it's quite an honor. I thought it would be an honor, but now I know what an honor it really is to be in the Texas Senate and representing Senate District 16. And it's quite an experience. It's everything. It's frustrating and it's exciting. But I learned really one of the biggest differences. I'm a businessman and I'm used to making decisions quickly and having pretty quick results, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And that just doesn't happen down here in Austin. It's a process that's slow and it's incremental. I call it incrementalism, and that's just the way it is. So I'm getting used to that.
On that line, there is something to be said about the frustration, clearly, in this day and age with the scatological nature of the internet, the ability for citizens to speak out or to make their voices known. But on the other hand, there are some conservatives who believe government should move slow. Your incrementalism is a pretty apropos term. Are you, in the terms of legislation moving, are you seeing some activity for positive things by and large this session with that new leadership and new elected officials down here that you're talking about?
Well, absolutely. We've got a good conservative Senate. It's run by a great Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick. We got, of course, a new governor and all new leaders statewide, 8 new freshmen in the Senate, Republican freshmen, and 1 Democrat freshman out of 31. So it's a whole different perspective, I think, than we've had in the past. And we're moving a lot of good conservative legislation out of the Senate.
You're from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, North and East Dallas in particular, your Senate district. Let me change gears a little bit and let's delve into some issues. You've focused on any number of things, as I mentioned in the introduction, on the Business and Commerce Committee, amongst others. But let's talk about your SB 62. Immigration, border security, one of the hottest issues, although a lot of tension lately on tax cuts we'll get to in a second. But talk about, if we can, your SB 62. You mentioned a new slate of statewide officials. That includes Comptroller Hager. Your initiative for SB 62 to get a handle on the financial costs of illegal immigration in the state. Talk about that initiative first, and then we'll get into where it's going.
Absolutely, be happy to. It's a great piece of legislation, Senate Bill 62. We passed it out of the Senate, and it's over in the House.
Okay.
And it is simply, we have to secure the border. We must secure the border. Federal government's not going to secure the border, but unfortunately, because they won't secure the border, Texas taxpayers are saddled with all the costs associated with illegal immigration. So my bill simply makes the comptroller figure up the cost of illegal immigration to Texas taxpayers. He has to take in consideration 4 main categories, and that's education, health care, incarceration, and border security. Okay. And then he's going to, after all, we can't fix a problem till we know how big the problem really is. And then he reports that He does that every biennium, and he gives that report to the legislature every other year.
I know State Representative Dan Flynn's been known to have a bill as a banker that he sent to the Obama White House. Are there any, have you found any kind of costing? Is there any sort of number, or is it just totally an open slate at this point?
No, we can get really pretty definitive on a lot of issues. Once the comptroller digs into it, I have complete confidence that they'll be able to come up with a matrix to get that done. You know, I talk about costs because I'm a businessman. And I know before I go buy a house or I'm buying a piece of land or something like that, the first thing we need to know is the cost of what it's costing Texas taxpayers. You know, after all, we're spending so much more money than anyone from Connecticut or Oregon is having to deal with it, particularly in education.
Let me ask you about that education, because a lot of folks won't realize that Texas public schools are required to take on any child that shows up at their door. You're in the Dallas area, not on the Texas border. Are you seeing in the Dallas Metroplex the critical impacts or the real effects, or do you still feel like it's maybe south of San Antonio? What are the impacts in the Metroplex?
They're massive. Massive for
Really?
the schools in the Metroplex. Absolutely. Visiting with members of the Dallas School Board, they're estimating that 30,000, a minimum of 30,000 students, or out of 162,000, are illegal children, and it could be as high as 50,000. We're educating just in the Dallas ISD.
So you've got a real problem up there.
It's across the state of Texas, I feel like. And look, I'm not saying it's the problem is that Texas taxpayers are paying for it. And we need to hold the federal government accountable to this problem and either try to recoup the money back from them or at least make them secure the border so the problem doesn't get bigger.
Okay, folks, I want to thank you again for joining us for this edition of Texas Insider TV with Senator Don Huffines from Dallas. Senator, on your SB 62, one final note. You mentioned it's passed out of the Senate, now goes to the House. Are you optimistic? What's the outlook?
I am optimistic. It's over in State Affairs right now,
Okay.
and we hope to get it out of there, and we don't have much time, as you know. I've only got another week left, but I'm
cautiously
optimistic, I would say.
Okay, well, good luck on that effort. Appreciate your hard work there.
Sure.
And one final question, if we can respect your time, let you get back over to the Senate. You had a op-ed in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram yesterday. The big issue of late is tax cuts, the budget certainly, but the back and forth between the House and the Senate about margins tax, sales tax, property tax. You've got an idea to really focus on the margins tax. Tell us what you think the outlook is and what you're working on.
Well, thank you, Jim, for asking that question. You know, I have been very consistent that we need to kill a tax, get rid of a tax. And the margins tax is a job-killing tax, and it has high compliance costs. It's never been well received, and we need to get rid of that tax. And this is a great opportunity to do it. Texas is blessed with a lot of extra revenue this biennium, and we need to get rid of that tax. And getting rid of that tax is going to create tens of thousands of new jobs, and I've always said there is nothing more important than a man or a woman having a job.
Mm-hmm. I have to give you credit, Senator. I'm looking at your 16-paragraph article here. You mention eliminate 6 times, repeal twice, a 50% cut 6 times. Your messaging has been strong, to say the least. But talk about the difference between the possibility. Is a 50% reduction realistic, a 25% reduction? What's the sense of the Senate and the legislature at this point?
Well, we've got great leadership in the Senate with Lieutenant Governor Patrick, and he's doing a fantastic job. My position is clearly, we both chambers are coming up with about $4.5 billion in tax cuts.
Okay.
And $4.5 billion is about what we get, about 50% cut for the margins tax. So we can knock it off. We can knock 50% off this session, and then we can phase it out going forward. And that's my goal. And to create, because that job, getting rid of that is really going to create a lot of jobs.
What about the difference? Do you have any inside intelligence? What's the analysis? Margins tax looks like it's consistent between the House and the Senate. Sales tax or property tax, insights at this point? Not to put you on the spot, but
We've got great leaders negotiating that right now, but I really hope they look hard at getting rid of this margins tax and killing it and cutting the head off that snake.
And real quick, one maybe Metroplex specific issue. What is the economic outlook, or what's the economic lay of the land in the Dallas-Fort Worth area now? Has it seen an impact from the oil and gas industry? Are you still strong?
Dallas is very blessed right now. We've got a very diversified economy, and we are creating lots of jobs. I suspect this year will be number 2 or number 1 in the nation in job creation. We have not seen yet much of a fall off in the oil and gas industry.
Well, speaking of fall off, we're going to let this discussion here in respect to your time. Senator Huffines, we really appreciate you coming in. Thanks for your hard work.
Oh, thank you, Jim. Thanks for all that you do.
Folks, we appreciate you joining us for another edition of Texas Insider TV. We've been visiting with Senator Don Huffines from Dallas, Texas, freshman senator and backer of conservative issues in the Texas Senate. Remember, you're either an insider or you're not. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jim Cardle.